So let's talk about what the 5 clues are that were left behind by these fantastic colleagues of mine in our interviews. So there are 5 of them really, and I'm going to talk you through each of them individually, but let's talk about what the 5 are. One is actually building a bulletproof pipeline. Don't roll your eyes. It's not what you think it is. All right. So 2 is your consistent approach to your prospects. Right. 3 is how to have a getting better agenda. 4 is that your personal brand is everything. And 5 is how to gain influence with prospects. Right. So 1, building a bulletproof pipeline. Right. 2 is consistent approach to prospects. 3, you're getting better agenda. 4, your personal brand is everything. And 5 is gaining influence with prospects. So let's talk through those real quick. So I just told you that having a bulletproof pipeline isn't what you think it is. I'm not going to tell you to just pick up the darn phone, because there are a lot of ways to prospect, right? Yes, you can pick up the phone, and Steve Kloida and Wendy Wise tell us about how to use the phone in the summit. Joanne Black says, hey, here's how we can go out and do no more cold calling, right? And Dan Waldschmidt has a fantastic approach to using more content marketing to get appointments with a lot of people. But those are all great approaches, but what I want you to do is change your mindset. Because here's the deal. If you look at the top performers in sales from all over the world, the difference between them and the not top performers is this. They don't think that there's a choice. When I walk into offices every day and I'm talking to an average quota performer and underperformer, the difference between them and the guy who's breathing the rarefied air, they think they have to choose when or how to prospect. If they prospect, if they're building pipeline. That top performer, it's not a choice. Building a bulletproof pipeline is what they do. And I'm going to tell you why, one of the reasons why it's so important, right? Let's say if you've ever been in a situation where somebody promised you a sale, a prospect promised you a sale, and then that prospect determined that it wasn't in the budget, or something wasn't aligning, or they couldn't get the boss to say yes. And then you were just strucken down and you were grief stricken for a week, right? And between you and me, you didn't prospect, you barely talked to anybody, right? You were just bummed out. Well, here's what I'll tell you. It's probably because your total pipeline's thin. Yeah, we'll have an emotional letdown when a prospect tells us no. But most of the time, the big agony comes when we only have a few prospects who are going to be moving through the pipeline. If I have 30 prospects and one says no, well, it didn't work out. Right? If I have 30 in the pipeline at some stage, okay. But if I have 2, it becomes a real problem. And I hang on to it with all of my might. Right? So building a bulletproof pipeline is about putting in the non-optional, value-based thought process that building pipeline is the job, not a part of the job you choose. So I want to make sure we're clear about that. It's as much a mindset as it's tactful. Look, there's great ways. Bryn Tillman absolutely crushed it in her interview talking about how to get appointments on LinkedIn, right? You've heard me mention Steve and Wendy and Dan, all these people. But I'm going to tell you how to be successful over the next 3 months. Dive into one of those ideas. Do it every day. Make it a habit. And I promise you, you'll see success. Don't deviate. Don't decide it's not working after a week. Because I know it's not supposed to be said this way, but us salespeople are kind of ADD, right? We're, ooh, squirrel, right? Pick one, and let's start building a bulletproof pipeline, right? The other thing we do to build a bulletproof pipeline goes to our second clue from the B2B Sales Summit interviews. And the way that we build a bulletproof pipeline is with consistent approaches to prospects. All right, Ken, nobody's talked to me about the idea of building pipeline and this. What does that mean? Well, here's what it means. When I was talking with John Barrows, he has this fantastic kind of step-by-step things that he does throughout the pipeline to keep the prospect engaged, right, and closing on time. Randy Reimers does a fantastic thing called goal line next step and says it's a fireable offense. If you and your prospect agree that you're going to meet, that there's a reason to have more conversations, and you don't set the appointment in that meeting. Right? So we can build a bulletproof pipeline by applying consistent processes on top of it. So as an example, if you do this one thing, so I said in the bulletproof pipeline side, right? What we got to do? We in the bulletproof pipeline pick one idea, right? Use Dan, use Steve, use Wendy, right? Use any of them. Use Bryn, use LinkedIn, I don't care. Pick one. And then if you don't want to do all the other stuff, because there's 2, 3, 4, 5 things that you can do to make your process consistent, do one thing. Dive into the goal line next step and it'll shorten your sales cycle. Set the next meeting in the following meeting. Oh, John, you want me to get back to you on Wednesday? Well, that's great. My team will have everything by then for sure. I know we both get busy. You want to set this for 2 o'clock? This time seems to be good for you, John. So why don't I just move this calendar invite forward to next Wednesday? That's one way that you could go about helping to build a bulletproof pipeline. But that consistency is other things, right? The consistency is how we attack and approach our prospecting, our clients, right? And here's the deal. I'm a salesperson. Ask anyone around me. I hate paperwork. I got this stuff. I hate paperwork. But I'll do process if it's going to make me money. So here's the gig. I'm going to give you a quick example of what I mean by applying a consistent approach to our prospecting and client messaging. Go ahead and use something like this as a framework, and I think you'll see things change for you immediately. First, if you're in an environment where your team's selling it all, where it's you and your boss, or it's you and a team, 15 minutes before the call, you have a team meeting. Current status of the account and the person, right? Who's going to play what role? And then second, who's going to play what role on the call, right? Third, what are 2 things we hope to gain out of this call? Fourth, what are 2 things we think they want to gain out of this call? Fifth, what's the biggest objection, right? Cover those 5 things in your pre-call meeting. Next piece, right? That's your pre-call planning. Second, your agenda. Have a consistent agenda. Mr. Jones, hey, we're hoping to learn more about X so that we can better serve you today. We'll sprinkle in some stuff about the project, about us as we go through. Make your agenda other-centered, but always start with an agenda, right? Next, end of the meeting, goal align next step. Hey, Mr. Jones, this has been a fantastic meeting. I'm glad you've agreed that we need to get back together. With that being said, while we all have us here, let's just go ahead and pull out our calendars and let's schedule it for the 22nd, right? And then top that all off with the following. Perfect. Love that we're going to be here on the 22nd. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to send you an email with a summary of our meeting. What I'd like you to do is reply back and do one of 2 things. Either say, yep, that's exactly what I'm looking for, or add any additional notes for things I may have misheard, misinterpreted, or not heard. Right? That's a good tip from John Barrows. Do that after each meeting. Align through the process with your pre-call planning, your discovery agenda, goal line next step, and send the next meet. That's 4 steps to be consistent to build a bulletproof pipeline. So that was step 2, right? Consistent approach to prospects and clients. All right, so we'll go from there. We go 3. All right, Ken, but it sounds like this stuff's going to take more and more time. That's where I got you, because your 3rd one is you have to have a getting better agenda. Look, in other professions, you know why they're part of the reason they're taken seriously? Because they have continuing education. Right? 8% of the salespeople make 80% of the money. Yet somehow the other 92% of us don't think that we actually need training or education. It's baffling. right? It's absolutely baffling. So you have to take personal accountability, and here's where you're not going to like what I say. It's on us. Keith Rosen, Trish Bertuzzi, Keenan. I got, I don't know, probably half the speakers, half the guests, all leaning into that coaching's important. And there's two problems with the idea of coaching and a getting better agenda. One is, right? Does your manager want to or know how to? Second is, will you come to it with an open mind to get better? Right? And if you're a manager or a VP right now and you're watching this, you're an entrepreneur, let me tell you this, separate coaching moments from pipeline review. They shouldn't be together. Pipeline review feels like the Spanish Inquisition. Coaching should be about professional skills development. It should be about things like we talked about in the consistent approach, right? Setting ideas, setting tones, things that can happen during that, where we can actually build skill sets to help them improve. Because the problem is, most days today, the reason so many salespeople fail is that it's not your fault, managers, it's not your fault, VPs, because all the reports say that your company won't spend the money on you. And therefore, you don't know how to receive coaching or give it. But it is the reason why your sales force is underperforming. And I realize your company may be growing today, but are they growing at market rate, or are they taking market share from everybody? Those are the things that you have to ask yourself in having a getting better agenda. And here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're not getting coaching, you got to go get it. When a getting better agenda, right? I never want to hear the idea that you don't have time. Because either one of my friend Randy Remersman says, either you manage your schedule or somebody else will. He has the idea that you can divide your schedule into things that are productive to sales, taxes you have to pay to get sales done, and leeches where you're doing things for other people you shouldn't be doing. So in a getting better agenda, I'm trying to get more productive and I'm trying to get better. It's about the totality of you as a person and a professional. Keith Rosen speaks to how to build the ideal life and essentially not drive yourself nuts. So a getting better agenda. We've got to be able to find ways to become more productive and do more with what we have. Right? The fourth point, which is somehow still pretty misinterpreted, is the idea that your personal brand is everything. Look, you want to know what the power of LinkedIn is. Let's assume for a second this is a B2B sales summit that you all sell B2B. There's 500 million people on LinkedIn. It's the world's biggest business platform. By comparison, it's 2 billion on Facebook. So it's still pretty darn good. Go Google yourself, and I'll bet you that your LinkedIn profile, if you've had your LinkedIn profile for more than 6 months, your LinkedIn profile probably shows up on the first page or two. People are looking you up, figuring you out. They'll probably land on one of your social sites first. If your Facebook page isn't protected, that'll probably show up too. Your personal brand is everything, but it's not just about the social. It's not just about the social profiles that you put out there. It's about the content that you deliver, right? And it's about the quality of the content. But here's the thing: you don't know what content to deliver unless you know who your customer is. And in only the rarest of cases is your customer everybody that breathes. But you need to identify. Matt Hines would tell you about it. Brian Fans would tell you about it. John Barrows, Dan Wallerschmidt, they would all tell you. Your customer universe shouldn't be this big. It should be this big. Because then you can speak directly to the problems. And it's not about the quantity of content you put out. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. Right? So your personal brand, social profiles, content you produce, and last, don't think I forgot about it, the offline person. The experiences that you give to your prospects, clients, associates, and friends. Because your personal brand can be leveraged to build a bulletproof pipeline in a way that is less arduous than randomly picking up the phone and calling complete strangers. You watch Joanne Black, she talks about no more cold calling. And if you were to add referral-based metrics, that you could actually grow your sales and actually have a happier sales life too, or sales team. So dig into the idea that your personal brand is everything. And if you're a VP or an entrepreneur out there, know that you can harness the power of your sales team and your company's people and their personal brands with just a few strategically planned ideas. I'll give you one of them specifically. You share valuable content because you know who your potential customer is, and it's dialed in like a bullseye. Share it out there, and then have everybody on your team share it too. You'll be surprised how fast it'll pick up traction. So, personal brand. Last one, and probably the one that's probably most people think is the most important, because I get questions all the time. Ken, how do I close this sale? Oh, negotiation. Oh, what? All those questions come at me. And so the fifth clue that was left is that we really have to work towards gaining influence with our prospects. Don Hudson has a 7-step system, on how to become a trusted advisor. And it's awesome. Chris Del Toro talks about insight selling and how to move out of the commodity box. So I got to ask you this. If price was never an issue again, would that be okay with you? Keenan speaks to the idea of gap selling, right? Their current state, their future state. The wider those get apart and you're the only solution, price becomes less of an issue. But here's the deal. To understand current and future state, to follow Don's pattern to become a trusted advisor, what has to happen? I have to be interested in them instead of worrying about being interesting. And that's a different set. If you want to gain influence with our customers today, they're past the idea. Here's what I'll tell you. Back in the 70s, even all the way through the 80s, I had all the knowledge, right? I had everything. Customer couldn't get anything. And I could disperse the knowledge about my products and services whenever I felt like it. Times have changed. They get most of that online. Heck, they can get most of your information from your competitor. So how do we win today? And how do you win going forward? You win by understanding business solutions instead of your sales quota. Right? Don't let the cadence of your sales quota, I've got a monthly, quarterly, yearly sales quota, determine when you push, when you press, when you add value. You want to gain influence with your prospects. That was one thing that it was actually interwoven throughout so many of the B2B Sales Summit interviews. Because gaining influence is about them, not us. I can't tell you how many times I'm in talking to somebody and they're like, man, but it just wouldn't close. Okay, well, why were they a fit, Fred? Well, because they had this and they had this and they had this and they had this. They were a perfect fit, Ken. Really? Did they tell you they were a perfect fit? Or did you just decide because you got this little buyer persona over here sitting on the corner of your desk? Look, I always go back to the phrase, and I haven't had anyone argue with me, and Matt Hines told me, he goes, yeah, buildings don't buy. I couldn't agree more. Right? Gaining influence with your prospects is about the idea of selling human to human. So hashtag selling H to H and hit me up with it somewhere on social media. But that's the gig. You want to gain influence, understand their people, and that people make decisions. And we can argue about AI. We can argue about what's coming. It ain't here. And I can tell you right now that I agree completely with Jeff Shore that there is always going to be a place for salespeople. Now, if you're the low value, just reiterating stuff coming out, yes, you're going to be one of the million jobs in sales that was eliminated between 2016 and 2020. But if you're somebody who can have a conversation, dig into business processes and solutions, understand the impact on your client's business, and show them a way to look at things that's different than what they thought and better for them, you've got a chance to climb the mountain, right? You can go to the Mount Everest of sales success because you can actually connect the dots for people. I'll tell you this, studies say 60 to 70% of the research is done when they get to you. That research is baloney, right? You've heard it. Oh, they've done 60 or 70% of the shopping by the time they show up to the salesperson. Why do we need salespeople? It's junk. First of all, it's self-reported by marketing agencies usually. And the other piece of the puzzle is they're more confused when they get to you. Just think to yourself, how often when a customer comes to you, do they actually buy the products? And then later on, when they tell you what they got out of it, did they get out of it what they thought they were buying? Right? I thought I was buying a solution. I don't know. I thought I was buying something to reduce expenses. Right? And what I actually found was I got something not only reduced expenses, but increased revenue. Your buyers don't know what they're getting because they don't have the full idea of what's happening. So to gain influence, we have to understand their big picture. Here's a tactic. Figure out what's their most important thing for them at their level over the next 3 to 6 months. As an example, VP of technology, right? Okay, Joe, I'm interested in finding out what are the things that are important to you that you need to accomplish that you're being measured on over the next 3 to 6 months, right? A CEO. Hey, Jan, strategically, what do you feel you need to accomplish over the next year? What are the priorities that you have? Get them to look out so that you can come back in because you can see how your product suite, your services may fit in better than they ever will. Gaining influence, figure out, in my opinion, become an expert in your client's business, and you may find the holy grail to sales success. So, wow, that's a lot of information. So I've spent over 200 hours kind of looking through everything, trying to find the common traits. So what I would tell you is when you go forward, divide things you read, see, assess. If you're in our membership site and with the All Access Pass, divide your research and how you view stuff. Divide up the different ideas and stick them into one of these 5 buckets. You may not agree with me on all the buckets. And that's fine. But find a way to assess and find the right lens with which to look at all the stuff coming at you, because with all the information, it's easy to get off track, because I've certainly done it myself. So as I said, yes, there's absolutely a membership site. And yes, I'd love for you to join us. You can see it below. I'm not going to oversell it because the value is fantastic anyway, right? It's $297 right now. I think we're going to start offering it more as a monthly membership. At that point, it'll be $897 a year. So it's a smoking price right now. You can get in now with, a few hundred of the first people, and that'd be fantastic. And we'd love to have you because you can dissect these interviews on these 5 clues and kind of go, where does this fit? You heard me speak to some of the speakers in each of these areas, and you can easily grab on there. But I guess the real reason to get it now and get it today is I still have access to the over $4,000 in valuable bonuses that the speakers have contributed. And so you can get access to those if you were to buy the All Access Pass for $297 today. But anyway, no matter what you do, no matter what you choose on that All Access Pass, Brian, I hope that this was valuable for you. And I hope that we've given you a way to start thinking about how to dissect some of the information that's coming at you, some tactics that you can apply in your sales world tomorrow to go start having more success. Because my goal at the B2B Sales Summit was that each person who attended found a way to actually impact their own income and earn more commissions. But it's not for the reason you think. I alluded to it earlier. The reason is because it's for the experiences. I've spent a lot of my life chasing a dollar, trying to be an entrepreneur, sales, all this stuff. And with my kids, at the time of this recording, they're 22, 18, and 16. And I don't remember any of those other things, but I do remember the times that we went to Panama City Beach. And I do remember the times that we traveled to the CrossFit Games. And I do remember the moments that I spent with my family. So, what I hope for you is I hope that you take away from this a way to pull information together, whether you do it in our membership site or not. I hope you find a way to pull information, categorize it, and then apply it to your sales world. Because what I hope for you is that you can gain those experiences that you so desire. So, no matter what you choose to do, make sure you hit me up. You can see all of my social links underneath, and I would be more than glad to connect with you. Either one or two things: send me a message and put in there the B2B Sales Summit, or go ahead and put in there, hashtag selling H to H. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for entrusting me with your time. And I look forward to hearing about all your success going forward. Again, Ken Lundeen, B2B Sales Summit. I'm out of here.